Cosmic Channels. I'm your host, Braden. This is your Cosmic call-in show. I just hosted. Oh my God, look at this guy. Didn't prep any of the lights. Just absolutely failing today. There we go. Welcome to Cosmic Channels, live every Thursday from Meth Laboratories. What's going on, everyone? Lines are open. 1-833-703-0424. You got a story? You got a tale? You got a tall tale? You got a scary story? You've got a demonic oppression story? Now's your chance to call in. 1-833-703-0424. First call's the deepest. Baby, I know. The first call is always the most important because I never truly know if any of this is working till the first person calls. My main concern whenever I do the show is that I'm just sitting here and people are trying to call and have no ability to call. The other thing, you want to help support the show, scan that little QR code. I don't even know if it's working. Sometimes, I don't know, someone told me that QR codes expire, and I was like, I don't think so. It seems to be working before. No one complained. But you know what? Go check it out. The other thing is, I'm really humming and hawing about buying this haunted doll off Marketplace. I don't think it's actually haunted, but goddamn, it looks haunted. This lady posted this picture of this doll on Facebook Marketplace, and she goes, "This doll stares into your soul." And I messaged her. She wants $100 for it, and she goes, "I go, how haunted is it?" She goes, "It's not at all. I don't know why everyone thinks that, and it's hard to look at. That's why everyone thinks it's haunted." So I said, I was like, maybe I'd pay $30. And that was like 2 weeks ago. And she messaged me back. She goes, "Well, look at that. I'll take 30. You can come get it." And I said, well, that seems like, now it seems really haunted because now you're trying to get rid of it for 30. And she's like, haha, it's not. I promise. And I was like, well, you're not doing a very good job convincing me. So then I said, I'll pay 10. And she's like, I'll think about it. And then she messaged me. She's like, whatever, I'll take it. Come get this thing. And I was like, I don't know if it's some sort of curse that gets passed on and that someone has to exchange. See, someone in the chat, Alan, saying she should pay you to take it. I think that's my next pitch. You pay me $10 and I will come pick it up. We got 616 Infernal. He says he's got to call in one of these weeks. He's got a pretty good demonic oppression story. Oppression. Interesting. Call in. We want to hear it. Todd King. I couldn't remember your first name because it had the donation was under your wife's name, and I remember it was you. So I just gave a shout out to Mr. King. I hope that's okay, Todd. Sorry about that. But lines are open, guys. 1-833-703-0424. Here's one thing that's going to definitely come to an end here. I don't think I can do fan-read submissions anymore. And here's the reason. I sent out for Season 8. I've sent out to date 20. I've sent out 20 stories. People who have volunteered to read stories and send in the submissions. And there's more people that want to read them. I have received 0 in return. So I've kind of made the decision this week that I'm like, I don't think that's feasible because now I'm just holding stories that, have names attached to them that I haven't got. And so it's kind of, it's one of those things where it's like, it would be nice, but like, I'm not gonna hound people and be like, hey, I sent you this 2 months ago. So I think what I'm going to do is this. I think the switch I'm going to do is I'm almost back ahead of the game with Cosmic Channels. I've got next week's just about wrapped up to edited, ready to post. And the week after that, which then gives me an abundance of time to do some more editing, work on socials. It's just been a crazy couple months. But what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to read the stories and maybe try to add some Foley work in, or maybe stuff like that. So and listen, I'm not the 20 people sent to I'm not butthurt. I'm not mad. It doesn't matter to me. It's just I can't do it. Like now I have two lists going of stories I haven't read and haven't sent, and stories that haven't been read but have been sent. So Bandito, listen, you blew it. Just kidding. It's all good. Don't worry. It's all good. You've had that strep throat for 6 months. What's up, Duchess of Doobies? Welcome to the chat. Yeah, Canucks made a good run. Listen, I don't want to talk about the Canucks. It was upsetting to lose the Oilers in that fashion. And, it is what it is. I talked a lot of crap about the Oilers, so I think that I'm being served my just desserts. I don't know if that's the phrase, but it is what it is. Come on, we need a first call. 1-833-703-0424. See, this is where I'm like, is it even working? I don't know. You got a story. You got some sleep paralysis story. You seen a UFO. You seen cryptids. Now's your chance to call. Let's while we're waiting here. Next week. Yes, next week. I have Peter coming on as a special guest to listen to calls, and we're going to talk about his inspiration. He is Count Mortlock. He did a lot of the music for us this season. Awesome stuff. So we're going to have him on. Caller on the line. Callers take priority. Let's go to the caller. Cosmic Channels, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, it's Bandito.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, do you want me to read that story now?
Nah, it's all good. Don't worry about it.
No, but I have a theory I want to throw out there. Actually, maybe two theories at this time.
Let's do it.
Okay. So, and I don't know if I shared this on Discord yet or not, but I heard this a while back, and it's really made me think that about what's going on. So, back in like the 40s and 50s, when people were moving out of the cities into the suburban areas, city planners at the time were creating the new towns, their main streets, their city blocks, on all of that. And of course, it was all men. We're just going to throw that out there because that's all who was doing it at the time when we were the secretaries and stuff. That's just the time it was. But it comes down to they're doing their city planning, and they want to have pretty trees and everything.
Yeah.
So if anybody knows stuff about like botany, and this is maybe not true for everything because I'm not an expert on this, but male trees produce the pollen, right? Female trees catch the pollen, produce the fruits, and then you have trees with fruits. Well, the theory goes is that the guys who are doing the city planning didn't want to have fruits all over their city streets. They didn't want to worry about the cleanup and the hassle of having all of these fruits falling on cars and streets and such. So they decided to plant all male trees in the suburban areas that were being planned and built. So what does that mean? Well, what that means is now that for the last, 50, 60 years, we've been having all of these male trees grow and get to maturity and produce all of this pollen, and there's been no female trees to catch it, take it out of the air, help reduce it. So that leads to, if everybody or people have noticed, maybe allergies have been getting worse and worse and worse. It's because there's more and more and more pollen out in the air because there's just nothing there to help filter it out for us. And I can speak for myself. I swear to God, Mother Nature's trying to kill me. I have allergies to everything. The winter, spring, summer, fall, it does not matter. I am sneezing, sniffling, runny noses, a cough, something to do with allergies all year round. And it's gotten worse as I've gotten older. And I mean, knowing that theory and how they did it, it makes sense. The opposite of that, though, is if they had just planted all female trees, there wouldn't have been enough or no male trees around to produce the pollen, which would have pollinated them to create the fruits. So you still would have had trees, but no fruits, or very few fruits.
It's
Does that make sense?
I mean it does, and like it's an interesting. I mean, goddamn, like pollen season here, it's really brutal. Like I don't remember as a kid, like just you seeing like the yellow pollen, coat vehicles and stuff. Like I don't remember that shit as a kid. That's an interesting one because like I've only noticed it really in the last 5 years maybe. That it really being an issue. Like it coats your vehicles if your vehicle's under a tree. Like, and I had trees growing up like in different houses, but I don't really remember this amount of pollen. I wonder why. There has to be a reason of planting. What? Maybe short-sighted planting only male trees, but
yeah, I don't think they thought about it at that time because it wasn't an issue then, because there just wasn't the mass amount of them. But suburban areas have grown so much, and we're trying to beautify and preserve nature and all of that out in the cities even, that more trees are getting planted. And I don't know if it's still going on, like if city planners or people who plan parks. Hold on one second.
Holy. Oh, Jesus. While we're waiting for her to come back.
Okay, sorry.
Oh, there we go.
Sorry, neighbors started to move and they freaked out.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know if they're still doing it today, where like when they plan parks or new subdivisions and plant trees, if they're only doing the males as well, or if they're starting to do females. Because I mean, I moved from Boise, the big city, quote unquote, in Idaho, to a small town, and there's a lot more farms and trees out here, but I don't really see a lot with fruits on them unless you're specifically buying and planting a fruit or fruiting tree.
Yeah. It's kind of an interesting one because I'm trying to think. Like I remember when I lived in Vancouver, there was like, and I mean maybe it's just like the thought process was like the trees that grow and do the least amount of damage or something. Because like I remember there were streets in Vancouver that had acorns, and they're huge. Well, when the acorns would drop, they would just destroy every car on the road. Like every single car would be just riddled with little dents from these little
hail dents.
From the acorns coming down, and it was like a big issue like every year of these like because like a lot of people in Vancouver like have Porsches and really nice vehicles, and they're just getting absolutely dummied by the acorns. So I wonder if it was like, they were like, oh, this will be the least, like the male tree only produces pollen, this will cause us the least amount of issues, not realizing that the pollen would then just go wild in 50 years.
Yeah, and I mean it's not 50 specifically kind of thing, but it's just, I was just saying that's kind of when the suburban areas were growing, was back then. Mm-hmm. And if you think about how long it takes for trees to mature, it would make sense that the reason in the last 10, maybe 15 years that there's, I would say, again, I haven't completely looked into this to see graphs and all, but there's been an exponential growth of allergy cases, I would say, because of that.
Yeah, it's, I mean, I'm trying to think. I mean, this is big allergy for sure. Big Claritin. they must have been behind this. It's a interesting one to think, because you're like, is it just like one of those absolute oversights by city planning of being like, we had no idea when we did this, we just didn't want to deal with the mess of the fruits, not realizing that we would be dealing with like this amount of pollen in the future, and nowhere for it to go.
Yeah, I just thought it was a crazy little.
Yeah, it is wild.
I call it my crazy conspiracy fact that I just learned. So.
No, it's an interesting one, because I'm like, I mean, I definitely get hit with the early, like the early spring allergies quite bad, and when I lived up north, it was even worse. I found I never knew about this snow mold, where it's like when there's been snow over the ground for so long and it starts to heat up, you get like a mold underneath the snow, and then it doesn't get released until after the snow melts, and then it releases kind of the snow mold. And my allergies up north were, it was like devastating, and I already had a bad nose back then, so it was like there was no breathing. I was breathing out of my eyes basically. But it's
so it was just spores from the mold at that point?
I guess so. Yeah, like, I didn't even know about it. Someone's like, I was just like, oh my god, like I've never had allergies so bad. People are like, snow mold, welcome to the north. And I was like, snow mold? I was like, oh, this is brutal. This like even another reason never to go north ever again. So
yeah, and I don't know. It'd be interesting to see how many people can do this, but like my allergies are so bad that I can smell the pollen. Like there's sometimes I'll go outside in spring that there's a just smell, and I'm like, oh god, you guys smell that? And they're like, no, it smells nice. I'm like, oh, but it's like the most worst horrible smell ever. I can't stand it. And I'm like, those are days I know it's going to be bad for my allergies. When I
have a cousin who like he's the same thing. He's like, the second he goes outside, he's like, I'm not going to be able to be outside here anymore. My allergies about to go like off out of control here, and it is like eyes get puffy, like watery, like nausea, like it looks terrible. So yeah, I mean, maybe it's just the plants trying to kill us. They're pushing back. They've had enough.
So it's big Mother Nature then, huh?
It's big Mother Nature pushing back.
Got it.
But yeah, hope maybe someone else will call and have know more about that, and because I'm not much of a botanist, I don't know what the horticulture. I don't know what it is with the trees. Arborist, that's who cuts them down.
Well, yeah, arborist could be for trees, but just in general, like I don't know if it's the same with flowers that they planted or like that kind of thing, because the bees are what's pollinating that per se, and maybe bees pollinate some trees, but I don't exactly, like I said, I'm not an expert either, so I just heard it and I was like, oh my god, it makes so much sense.
Yeah. I checks out for me. Like, I mean, I'm sure there's tons of stuff. If you go down Reddits of like things you didn't know or just realized, where you'd be like, oh, I had no idea that this is like, we didn't plan ahead 60 years ago when they did these things, or they didn't understand what the repercussions was. I mean, it's a classic of like when we introduce, anytime we fuck with Mother Nature, we fuck with the balance, right? The natural balance of things. Right, like we introduce fucking wolves to area or different things, and then we fuck up something more, and it's like, stay out of it. That's the best thing we can do. Is stay out of it and don't, consume only what we need. We don't need to overfish and cut down these trees and that kind of stuff. It's like, just leave the balance in place. It's someone in the chat, Duchess of Doobie says Mother Nature's in it for the long con. Yeah, it's true. Like it'll balance itself whether we like it or not. How it does it. So Bandito, thank you so much for calling in. Don't worry about sending that story. I'm going a different route.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm going a different route. It's all good.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I feel really bad.
It's not your fault. It's not your fault. You share the blame with 20 other people.
Okay. At 120, it's sad then.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not bad. Don't worry about it. It's like I said, it's just one of the things where I was getting them really fast right away, and I was like, oh, this is perfect. And then they started to slow, and I was like, oh, this might be an issue. And then I'd send them to more people, and then more people wouldn't send them back, and I'm like, god damn. Now I'm just taking everyone off the list. I'm gonna read them and then edit them and make them into something for the show. But thank you so much for calling in.
You're welcome. Have a good night.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
Someone in the chat. I love wild theories and things that we didn't know about and these interesting facts. Garrett said, "What happened to the white poop?" I actually know this one. Bone meal. We don't put as much bone meal into dog food anymore, and that's the reason. Basically, dogs are just pooping out little skeletons before, and now we don't do that. I guess it's not good for them, so we don't get those white poops anymore. At least that's what I read. I don't. But you better fact check me on that. But I'm pretty sure it has to do with bone meal. So there's no conspiracy there. That we just took the bone meal out of the dog food. Lines are open 1-833-703-0424. You wanna talk weird theories, weird conspiracies, easy. Call on the show. 1-833-703-0424. They are communicating with each other through mycium in the root system over the need to increase population due to all the environmental changes. I'm guessing that's talking about the trees. I mean, hey, listen, Mother Nature hates us. It's going to push back. Whether that be the pollen pollinating us to death or whatever, we'll have to see. Lines are open, 1-833-703-0424. I have a feeling as we get into the summer months here that I think I'm, I should really made a summer season for Cosmic Channels, because I think what's happening is, and what I've been noticing is, really slow start to calls and then really picking up the call volume into 6:30, 7 into 7:30. And I think that's because, we're starting to get those longer days. People are out doing stuff. We're not sitting, you're not coming in and sitting around as early as you were when we started doing this in December, January. So I'm thinking I might have to push the start time of the show. I might have to do like an equinox flip, like with the time change. The show time changes to go a little later. I don't know what you guys all think about that. It just seems to me, usually the first, for the last 4 weeks, I jot down the calls and I look at kind of when the calls are coming in, and I can see where they're calling in from. But it's usually a slow start, starting at 6 o'clock into 6:30, 6:45. So, let me know what your thoughts are. If we push the show starting, 6:30, that would be 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I think it makes more sense. And then as we get into the fall, pull it back, because you're inside more, you're getting, it's just one of those things where I think everyone's out and about, East Coasters are, out later. So I think, looking at the chat, I think we're in agreement. So I might pull the trigger on that. We might just go do the equinox flips. And to be honest, even if we start at 6:30, the lines will still be open, and I'm still in here at 6 getting stuff together. So if people called at 6, it wouldn't really change too much. Call on the line. Calls take priority. Cosmic Channels. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Make sure to turn off that live stream.
It is off. Hey, Braden. Good evening. It's Daniel Edwards from. Gave you my last name by accident.
I can. You want that cut? Listen, you want that cut from the podcast version? I can cut it.
Cool, man. Yeah, I'd appreciate that. Unless it's too much work.
Not any work at all. This is what we're gonna do. This is what we're gonna do. Just stay with me right here. We're gonna do some ad-libbing. You ready?
Yeah.
Welcome to Cosmic Channels. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Braden. This is Daniel calling from Virginia.
What's going on, Daniel?
Hey, man. I just wanted to give you a real quick UFO story.
Oh, I love it. Let's hear it. Hold on. Let me prep some UFO music for you.
Nice.
All right, let's hear it.
Okay, so what was it, like 2 years ago? I'm sitting here next to my wife. She was.
Yo.
We were on vacation with a big family vacation, and I had just discovered MTG Arena. I'm a big game nerd, so I was up till about 1 a.m. in the morning when everyone else was asleep. We had a beach house right on the beach, and so before I went to bed, all of my stuff was dead, and by stuff I mean laptop and phone were dead. I went out on this porch and looked out over the ocean, and I saw not too far off from shore, maybe somewhere between 100 to 300 feet, there was these 3 slow pulsating yellow lights under the water. It's a weird day too. There were the red flags out on the beach, so we weren't supposed to be swimming that day. And it was just like a slow pulse, so it would get brighter and brighter, and then it'd get dim and turn off. And I would, based on memory, would guess that maybe these lights were the size of a basketball and triangular. And that was
like
an emerald.
the lights themselves were a triangle, or the shape they made was a triangle?
Yeah, between the three of them, they were in like a triangle formation that didn't break. So I don't know if the lights were separate from each other, but they looked like they were on the same thing.
And were they drifting at all? Like, were they stationary?
Yeah, they were stationary.
And what did they fade away? What happened next?
Honestly, like, I hate to say this, but after I was really tired, and after staring at it for a little while, I just kind of thought to myself, like, my phone was dead. It would have been hard to record anyways, and I was exhausted, so I really wanted to know, but I was not about to walk into that water and find out. So I just passed out. But here's the thing. We just went to North Carolina Beach again. It wasn't Emerald Isle. It was Kitty Hawk. It was just a couple weeks ago, and we met up with some friends who had been there the previous year. And by there I mean Kitty Hawk, not Emerald Isle. And they were telling me, and I could have them call you and tell you the story. It was two of them that saw it. There was like an orange orb that came up over the horizon at night and split into three and did some weird stuff. And so we were talking about UFOs and whatnot, having fun into the night. And the next day, I was keeping my eyes on the skies like you tell us to do. And my wife and I saw there was something else out there that I'm not sure that I could say that it was a UFO because it never moved super fast. But it was doing weird things, like it'd go left and then it would go right really slowly, and then it would stop, and then it would kind of like bounce around a little bit. And everyone else went inside, but I kept watching it into the night, and it slowly went out into a storm. It was either on the other side of the storm or it was in the storm, and it was really hard to tell, but it seemed like it might have been bouncing around. Either way, way too small of a light for me to have picked it up. There was one moment my wife saw with me where it had its regular lights on, which at first we kind of thought was a star, but it was like, what was it, like a tiny red light and a tiny white light. But there was a moment where it went from that and it turned into like a bright orange light.
I was going to say, it was an orange thing. And I didn't remember it until you reminded me of it. But it was weird. It was orange.
Yeah.
It was orange light, and it didn't move normally.
Yeah. So North Carolina, there is a military base out there, and that's all I've got for you.
What's interesting? Any nuclear facilities nearby?
I really don't know that. I really don't know that much about it, and I know that you would tell me to go on MUFON and report it, but I'm a bum, and calling you is way more fun.
Yeah, no, hey, I get it. I get it. Listen, I preach that you should report these things, but I've seen stuff and also have not reported, so I'm just as guilty. I just try to remind people that it's a good idea when you see it, report it if you can as soon as possible. If you didn't listen, I'm not the police. I'm not gonna come and arrest you for not reporting a UFO call. It's all good. The thing I'm interested about that sticks into my head, and the reason this just pops into the forefront of my mind, is the quick tale you told me about your friend's UFO that they saw light that splits into three and then takes off, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
We just had someone call last week that described that exact same thing.
Ooh, where was it?
I can't remember. You'd have to go back and watch the 8.8 live stream, or the podcast version, which will come out in 2 weeks, to listen to the story. But they told a kind of a quick hit of stories, and that was one, and I was like, oh, that was kind of, that stuck into my brain of like, oh, hey, that's weird. I've never heard something splitting into three like that, then taking off. And then lo and behold, you're telling me the same thing, like not a week later. So it's kind of interesting to make those kind of connections. as for that orange light you guys saw, like any fast movements, or was that just...
No, no, it wasn't too fast until it might have gotten to the storm. But honestly, it was so faint at that point that I don't feel like a credible witness. It kind of seemed like it was hopping around at like impossible speeds, but it was so faint that I don't want to like say that one for sure. What really threw me off was the yellow lights that I saw on Emerald Isle. I just can't think of what that possibly could have been. That especially that close to shore.
And I mean, you're never gonna find out because you didn't want to go in the water. So.
You're right.
It's an interesting one when you see stuff like that, because you're like, and listen, I've been there where you're looking and you're like, well, I don't know what that is. You're like, that's it. Like it's not like you're gonna be like, oh, scramble the jets, right? You have right, like, oh, let me pull out my pocket telescope. Like, you have nothing, and you're just like, well, that's cool. That's all that. And sometimes that's all you can do is just admire what you're seeing and go like, just be like, wow, I wonder what that is. And that's where it's always going to be at the back of your mind. And it's unfortunate, but it's like, unless you're geared up and you're like, hey, listen, I don't go anywhere without my telescope. I've got the White House on back dial so they can scramble jets in case I see it. Like, sometimes when you see these lights, especially like over the ocean and stuff like that, what are you to do if you're just stuck? Like, even if you had your phone, people are like, well, pull out your phone. Have you ever taken a photo of anything at night with your phone? It's absolute garbage. Like, absolute garbage. You try to zoom in, then you can't even keep it like in the frame. It's all blurry. It never does what you're seeing justice. So sometimes it's just better to just enjoy it and try to get the best eyewitness account you can. You know what? And maybe this is just me thinking off the top of my head. An easy thing if you're listening, and you like sky watching and stuff. Even just have a little notepad. Have a little notepad that you just jot the time and what you quick. What you saw. That might be a good alternative. I'm the laziest motherfucker ever. There's no way I'm buying a notepad and gonna remember to bring it with me anywhere. But maybe make a note in your phone or a little voice memo or something. That might be an option. But yeah, as for that, it's any thoughts? Like, what was your when you think about it? What did you think you saw?
I mean, I'm a naturally paranoid person, so I go through all the crazy stuff. But I keep up with it all, and I can't ever say like I believe one way or another because I just don't have the information. But I'm kind of torn, to be honest with you, between aliens and the government, and I feel so lame for saying that because I've always thought, oh, of course it's aliens because the universe is so vast. But it's definitely worth mentioning. Now that I bring that up, that people think, well, if there are billions of stars and planets out there, we would be dumb to think that we are the only intelligent life. But at the same time, the Earth has been around for 4.5 billion years, and there have been billions and billions of different forms of life that have grown on this planet. And I think it would be just as ignorant for us to think that we are the only intelligent species that has developed on this planet. And then there's the whole ancient architect theory that we've talked about before. But regarding the government, I called you guys a while ago to point out aerial burden laser plasma technology. And there's a long list of reasons. I mean, there's a lot of what do you call them, whistleblowers that have been coming out lately, but at the same time, it all could just be a disinformation campaign to prevent our, prevent foreign governments from catching on to the fact that, I don't know, like maybe 0-point energy really is real and the government's holding on to it because they're a bunch of assholes and don't want to let us have free energy. I just don't know.
It's hard with that stuff. Like, would they be holding on to that because they don't want adversaries to have that kind of technology? Because it feels like if they had it, it might, like, it would, you always hear about different whistleblowers coming out and be like, so and so made this device and died. So and so, you know, like they you know, you always hear, you know, Reddit threads or you know, Twitter feeds talking about, you know, some guy invited, oh, he had a car that could travel on hydrogen water in the 80s and he mysteriously vanished with all his knowledge and documents. You're like, oh, okay, weird. So it's kind of interesting. As for like UFOs or government, I don't think that's a lame, because it is gonna be you know, one of those two, because it's the government is light years ahead of what we know their capabilities to be, of what the general public knows, right? So it's like, part of me always thinks that these, you know, I'm usually quick to go to aliens. It's aliens. But you know, when you're thinking about like government technology and stuff, like, you know, in the gimbal and the Tic Tac video, and like, could that just be them testing their own stuff against their current like the current known capabilities of some of these crafts? You know, part of me always thinks that too. And you know, and like you said, it's kind of almost seems ignorant to think that, hey, we're the only intelligent life in all these billions and billions of, you know, stars and everything out there. But there's always the chance. You know, if you look at the Fermi paradox, and there's these great filters that are really hard for life to get through, right? That just knock life back. You know, maybe there is different kinds of life out in the universe, but there's, you know, maybe there's not like this level of intelligence and consciousness could be ultra rare. We have no idea. So there's always the chance of that. I kind of find that fascinating, is when you're looking at the great filter, is that like we're just kind of the first to kind of like break through that last one. We have no idea how or why.
Yeah.
Right. And you know, maybe an asteroid will come and smack us back. Right. We have no idea. We have no idea how difficult, you know, life is, because we just don't know anything about it other than our own planet. So it's, you know, it's wild. It's wild to think about, wild to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, like we said, that ancient architect theory we've talked about multiple times, about ancient civilizations. I mean, with anthropological records of us being this intelligent between 180 and 300,000 years, and the amount of catastrophes that have wiped us out, the idea of one of those eras of humanity actually seeing it coming and doing something to survive, and then maintaining their technology and history. I really love that idea. And I really love the idea of, like, it'd be so entertaining to find out that the octopuses that we know are just like the monkeys of their species, or, you know, their genus, or, you know, whatever.
Yeah, like something else is about to come through.
Yeah, because they definitely wouldn't want the general population to know that they exist.
No.
But
well, I don't
but
think
yeah,
they want
I mean,
the regular population to know like how intelligent some of these animals are, like dolphins and whales. Like, they're like, they're conscious, right? We're like, nah, make them jump.
Yeah.
Right. So it's you know, it's kind of weird, the levels of, like, you know, minimalizing, you know, other creatures and other stuff, what we do. So it's kind of fascinating to think about. Yeah, it would, like, yeah, octopus. I'm a firm believer that octopus aren't from Earth. They whatever, you know, they evolved from came on an asteroid from somewhere else, because they're just so wildly different.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, there has been some sort of cephalopod, some sort of non-vertebrate type creature that's been around for way before the dinosaurs.
Yeah.
But yeah, the whole thing about the whistleblowers, and I don't know if you remember the Ariel Burton thing. It's a way to ionize the air and create essentially plasmatic orbs in the air. And if you like YouTube Ariel Burton, you'll get a short little clip of something very minor. But if you were to take that and scale it up, and then another thing that you mentioned about the people who, like, they find a way to run a motor on water and then they disappear. I used to be suspicious that was very much just a conspiracy kind of thing, the stories that people like to make. But after looking a little bit further into it, it's legit. Like, a lot of these people did straight up get murdered in very suspicious ways.
Yeah, and it's like it's hydrogen power. Like, there's this, like, when you think hydrogen powered, that's water. That's water, brother. Like, that's what when you hear, like, people who are working with hydrogen powered motors and stuff, like, they're just not saying water, right? Like, that's a lot of that process to get the hydrogen is using water, right? H2O, hydrogen, that's what they use, water. So it's like it exists. And so when you hear these stories about it existing, decades ago, and these people just kind of disappearing, I mean, it's like, think about right, we had electric cars. I don't think they quite had the capabilities of electric cars now, but we had electric cars in the 70s, and they got bought up and destroyed. Like, all the patents destroyed, right, by big oil, right? So it's, there's definitely special interest groups that have wield a lot of power, that have interest in some of these innovations and stuff, just killing innovation, basically. Like, it's not good. Innovation is not good unless they're controlling the innovation.
Maybe those patriots that put up the guidestones, eh?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that was.
I think they tore that down because they didn't want anyone finding the time capsule.
Well, I was kind of interested, when they tore it down. Like, the guy blew it up, and then they tore it down. We watched the live stream. And we were kind of talking about that. We're like, are they going to pull up the time capsule? What's in the time capsule? Crickets, right?
Exactly.
Didn't get rebuilt. We don't know what happened. We don't know what was in the time capsule. Kind of interesting.
Probably would have revealed their thing.
See, I know there was a lot of people that were like, oh, the guidestones were New World Order, but like, I had always read them as, it seemed like something if the world was destroyed, right, and someone were to happen to buy these stones, they could be like, oh, right, they can read them and be like, oh, I'm gonna make civilization based on these stones, right? And then, like, listen, if you want in an absolute catastrophe to civilization to rebuild based on your beliefs, then fucking fork up the dough, build your own stones. If you build them, people will find them.
That's certainly possible, but the whole thing, especially with how fast they cleaned it up, was a little suspicious.
Yeah, that was and they were like, oh, it's a danger to come down. I'm like, yeah, maybe, but I mean, look, that excavator looked like it, it didn't look like it came down that easy. I watched the live stream of it coming down, so it's it's kind of weird one. But Daniel, thank you so much for calling in with those UFO stories and a little bit of theory rant. Really appreciate it.
Cheers, brother. Thank you so much.
Yeah, make sure to get your friends to call in who saw those 3 lights split off.
All right, I will.
All right, man. Take care of yourself.
All right, good night, Braden.
Bye. Listen, I love getting UFO calls, and I love chatting conspiracies and theories. So if you got a theory, you got something, call in. It's that easy. Lines are open, 1-833-703-0424. Lines are hot. Sorry, I saw there's people on hold. If you're getting bumped, there's a 16-minute hold period, so my apologies. Cosmic Channels, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
G from Florida.
What's going on, G? How are you?
Good, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad. What do you got for us tonight?
Well, I was just curious if you've seen, like, some of the, the new stuff with the UFOs and stuff that's coming out. Like, I don't know if you saw the thing with Russia where they had, like, the AI analyze, the moon landing photos. Did you see any of that?
Like the moon, like the Neil Armstrong moon landing photos?
Yeah, like the original moon landing photos.
No, I didn't. But what did tell me about it? What did they say? Fake?
Well, I mean, this is, I don't know. I read this article. I don't know where the hell, but You know, they were saying that like basically the Google the AI and they presented to Putin and said that it looks like it's fake.
Like the AI determined there was some level of like doctoring with the photos.
Some with the shading and like certain placements of things. Like I don't know. I mean, I'm sure if you quick Google search,
I love conspiracies. Always have. One of the ones that I've always loved is that we've been to the moon. We have.
I believe we went to the moon too, just not in 1969.
Not that time. And conspiracy that I
think
love.
we bankrupted the Soviets.
Yes,
but we went.
We faked it. We falsified it to absolutely because we knew they didn't have the means, and they were going to chase us. And we absolutely just bankrupt the Soviet Union by having them try to the space race. Right, like the whole thing was just propaganda to bankrupt them. And it worked. And
100%.
I mean, you see that.
It worked.
You see like lots of wars, like these wars of attrition. You put the tariffs on, and you're just basically trying to, like bankrupt the other side into being like, okay, I can't do this isn't feasible anymore. And that's what we did with the space race. We crushed
smart warfare.
Yeah, we absolutely crushed them. And thanks to Stanley Kubrick, we forged the best video known to man. Because I've seen, and people are gonna shit on me, but I love this stuff.
Bro, there's so much pop media, like all kinds of stuff, like even with the Red Hot Chili Peppers, space may be the final frontier, but it's made in a Hollywood basement. It's all over the place, it's in our face.
Yeah, it's it's the open secret. But listen, there's I'm sure if you go on TikTok or Twitter, there's videos, and there's one that I always love. And there's this guy, and he's just standing in this desert, and he's like putting his arms up. He's like, huh? And then they do like a crossfade to show the moon footage, and the mountain behind the astronauts on the moon footage, and then it pans back to him, and like the mountain never changes, and it's just this guy on Earth being like, huh? And it's like, dude, the mountain behind him's almost
But you're gonna have to
perfect
post
line.
that on the social.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen that. Post that on social.
I think it was on TikTok, so I'll have to find it. I'm sure. Listen, that stuff. My algorithm is just all absolute pandemonium conspiracy all the time. And listen, I've having researched and looked into this stuff a ton of times. Listen, there's ones where I'm like, okay, listen, the Earth's round. It's not flat. I don't believe that one.
Well, have you seen that new lady that's out there saying like she's zooming in on the moon and like it's pixelated, or not the moon, the sun? Have you seen that?
Oh, yeah, I saw that. Yeah, well, listen. I mean, your phone shit. Maybe like the sun's far away. Like, what are you expecting sitting on Earth using your Google Pix phone to zoom in to the sun? Like, what do you think's gonna happen? It's gonna get distorted. Like that's what's going to happen. Like you're going to lose quality the closer you zoom in. And
if you look at your TV close enough, I mean, you're going to see the pixels.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Well, that's what she's saying. It's all a big LED screen in the sky.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You're just zooming in too close. I mean, that's not what it is, though. It's just your eye doesn't know how to make out what and that's what the camera's doing. It just doesn't know how to do anything other than lines.
Yeah, it's someone said. At this point, Duchess Doobie says, at this point, I believe we live in a tiny snow globe world. And it's funny someone says that because, like, I don't know if you've ever gone out at night stargazing, but sometimes on a really clear night, if you're sitting out there, you do get like a snow globe effect because you can kind of see the slow movement of the stars and over the horizon.
Hey, man, I live in Florida. I saw those auroras.
Oh, how was that for you? Was that the first time?
Oh, dude, intense. Fucking I'm sorry, but crazy. Like pinks and like weird, not like the ones you get up there. Like they weren't green, they were pink, and it was intense.
Yeah,
it was unworldly.
It's crazy. The funniest thing is because like when we first started doing alien theorizing in this show and stuff, the joke's always been that I've early on in the days I was going. Aurora, space news.
Auroras.
There's no auroras.
I remember.
There's no auroras. Never any auroras. And So I didn't realize that the sun actually like cycles, and it has cycles of activity, like 12-year cycles or whatever. So at the time we started the show, we were at a solar minimum, which means that like the sun would be spotless for like almost all year. And we are just now starting to reach a solar maximum, which means now I could basically do a weekly aurora update and be like, did everyone's like, these are the like the days.
Bro, you
got to
bring it back.
I never realized that early on. I just was like, I thought it was something funny. And now, you know, as I became more educated on auroras.
So I traveled from Florida to Texas. I went to Waco for the Great American Eclipse.
Yeah.
That was unreal. That was awesome.
You know, I'm kind of kicking myself because I saw so many people post and so many people like just say like what an amazing experience it was to like that.
Bro,
traveled.
I cried like a little baby.
It's
for some reason, dude. I it was an emotional, like, as soon as you could take off your glasses, and it just like it was a black hole sun, and it was just I cried. It was an emotional thing, dude.
It's so like, yeah, it gave me shivers. Now I'm like, I kind of regret not making a trip to one of these spots, like doing some research. So I kind of told my spouse and stuff, and you know, I told the boys, I said, the next one, you know, I'm gonna travel to.
I live in Florida. I live in Tampa, buddy. You got an open invitation, all of you guys.
Well, it moves all the time, right? So it's like you don't know if.
Well, the next one that's gonna come through the North America, I think it's like 2044 or something. It's gonna come right over Florida.
Oh, really? Well, I might have to. Yep. I might have to do a trip before then too, because I like, listen, you know, we don't know how much time.
You're gonna have to go out of the country.
Yeah,
you ain't gonna see one.
Hey, that's all right. I don't mind that, but
no, I don't mind it either. I would love to go.
Yeah, you know. Because I saw the videos and stuff, and people like
it was the most emotional like I've ever been. Like, for some reason, dude, like as soon as I took off those glasses and it just turned like it was just the most powerful. Like, I can understand like why it was such an important thing to like the ancients and stuff, because like you feel it, dude. Like something happens to you, like your blood feels like different, like your bones tingle. It's weird.
Yeah, I mean. Yeah, man, like I said, I'm kicking myself. I'm pretty sure I saw one when I was a kid, but I was just like, didn't care. You know what I mean? I don't know if it was a full one either. I only have like partial memories of it. Someone in the chat said Alaska's gonna get one, and that's March 30th, 2033. March.
We should do something then, bro. I'll be there.
Well, it's just the two things you gotta be like. The shitty thing is like, because you gotta commit to going, and then you gotta be like, please weather, please.
Yeah, well,
please be clear.
That was the thing in Waco. Like, it was kind of like a cloudy day, and we got lucky. Like, right as the eclipse started, like it just kind of cleared out like the sky, and like there was a moment where like the clouds came back, and it was like right before the full eclipse started, and then like right when it happened, it just opened up, and it was incredible, dude.
Yeah, I wish, you know, it's something that you know, I'm definitely going to have to see one. 2044, I mean, I'll be so old then. 50, 55? God damn it.
Yeah, I'll be in my 50s.
That's crazy, man. That's fucking, well, I guess I'll be alive. Just my lower back will be even more sore.
Yeah, man. Yeah, well, I mean, Florida's a good place to go, though.
Yeah, that's in the 50s. Yeah, the humidity, it's good for the joints. Perfect. You know what? You're selling me on this now, actually. Thank you so much for sharing that experience. And I hope, you know, I never thought about having people call in and sharing their experiences of the eclipse and weird celestial events. But if you're listening and you got an opportunity to see those C6 storms that happened, what was it, a week and a half ago now? Or, you know, you got out and saw the solar eclipse, call in, share your experience. I want to know how it was and what you thought. So thank you so much for calling in.
Yo, that would be a cool show in itself.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, Braden, that would be a cool show in itself. Like, you should make just a show about that. That would be awesome.
Yeah, well, let's say, hopefully, you know, if I can start wrangling up some people that saw them and you know, they start calling in, you know, I probably can do that in the coming weeks here. So maybe we'll shoot for that. It was insane here. I've been spoiled because I lived up north, so I've seen like auroras that were insane but were weak. You know what I mean? Like, but because I was so close to the poles, so I've seen really good ones. So it was cool for me to see it this far south. As good. I
mean,
as
for us to see them in Florida, like
insane,
that's never happened before, like in recorded history. I don't think. Like it was insane. Like you walked outside, and it was pink, and it was just moving. It was
so
weird.
Cool.
It was the weirdest thing I've ever seen in Florida. You know, and I've lived here my whole life.
Yeah, they're magical to see. Like, and just watching it, how the sky kind of like, and you just like, it's one of those things you go out and you're like, I think I see them, and then you're like, oh my god, I see them everywhere.
No, that's what it is.
Yeah, so it's really cool. So thank you for calling in, sharing that, and I hope you inspire other people to call in and share their experiences.
Oh, 100%, man. Hey, Braden, love you guys. You all have a good night.
All right, man. Take care.
See you.
Bye. Yeah, if you made a trip to see the solar eclipse, or you were lucky enough to be in its path and you saw it, you want to share your experience, or you saw the solar storm and the auroras for the first time, you want to share your experience, this is the place, Cosmic Channels. This is the kind of shit we talk about. I want to know. It is interesting what he said. He's like, he knows, felt it in his bones and knows how important that would have been to ancient cultures. Yeah, like probably wild. So I can only imagine. I wish I would have got to see it. Lines are open, 1-833-703-0424. I got time for a couple more calls here. I think next week I'm going to start shifting the start time to 6:30, just so you know. So I'm going to do, maybe I'll run an ad on before all the shows on the podcast version. Speaking of that, thank you to everyone who's been downloading the show and listening to the show. I kind of had to release a shorter version. So normally I like to keep them an hour. And I think this episode that came out today was 42 minutes. I did that for two reasons. One, I just needed to get back ahead of the game. So that allowed me to do a 42-minute episode, and then back-to-back 2 60-minute episodes ready to go. And this episode is going to... It might become our second highest downloaded episode to date, but it might peter out. I mean, we still got plenty of hours left, but it's looks like it's going to be a comfortable third place right now. So thank you everyone for continuing to support the show. Love getting the support, love hearing from you all. If you got a story that you don't want to call in and share, write it to me. CosmicChannelsPodcast at gmail.com. And I'm going to do something new next week. I'm going to read it, and I'll add some effects to your story. So, to kind of punch it up a little bit. Try to get one of those on the live stream next week. As for that, we're getting close to the wrap of season 8 here. I think the two changes I'm going to make moving forward is I'm going to switch the times that, in the summer, we're going to push the show later, just because I feel like that just needs to happen. Just the call volume always picks up later on. So I want to go 6:30 to 7:30. Just think that makes more sense. And then the other thing that I'm looking to change is I wonder, like, part of me, I have enough in the bank that I could take some time off in the summer, but I'm and this is just a personal feeling based on the call volume, and it could change with the 6:30 to 7:30 switch, but I'm starting to think that this show is really like a fall winter show. Not that I wouldn't do it continually right through, but I think the show, spooky season is done. Like, I think it does better in the fall when it's dark out, and but it's also kind of nice to listen to this stuff on road trips in the summer. So I don't know. Let me know your thoughts. I want to keep recording them, so don't. I'm just thinking out loud here. I'm not stopping at any point and stuff, but part of me wonders if I should do like a break in the podcast versions, bank up a bunch, and then have them release, in the fall or something, rather than, maybe take a break off from the podcast version July and August, and then start releasing them September, and then kind of do a build up to October, into Halloween, kind of maybe release more, and then into the winter again. I don't know. I'm just brainstorming ways to grow the show. We've got enough to do our ad campaign. I'm going to run an ad campaign in the UK for some Instagram posts coming up. Maybe I'll start them as early as next week. I'm just waiting on an email from Call Hippo. Call Hippo's the phone provider we use, and the reason why I'm letting you all know is because this is our show. You guys are all the shareholders of the show. Everything you donate, I put back into the show. So right now we're kind of sitting on a little bit of a kitty. One thing's for the UK phone number, and the other's for advertising for the UK. That's what the money's being used for. Ulissa, thank you so much for the donation tonight. Number one in our hearts. Number one supporter of the show. Thank you so much. Chris Morning. Yeah, weekly podcast gets through the week. Yeah, I'm just kind of the same way. It's just, I'm just trying to find what you guys like listening to, because the people who come to the live stream, I love it. I want to grow the live stream more and more. But I also want to know what the podcast listener, the people who listen to the podcast, want to do. The one thing I'm waiting for from Call Hippo is they haven't responded. But I want to see if I can have it so the UK number forwards to this number. So they would call the UK number, which is going to be whatever. I have no idea. It's like 1803 or something. But I want to know if perchance that someone was watching a live stream on Thursday from the UK and wanted to call in, and they wanted to, could they call the UK number and it get forwarded to this number, or do I have to have two numbers running at the same time? So, listen, Andrew Higgins, we can bring that stuff back. Listen, we've had the last 2 months have been absolutely insane for all of us, between houses getting wrecked, new jobs, moving, planned vacations, illnesses, stuff like that. It's the waters are finally starting to calm for all of our life. So we're planning to bring back Sunday live streams with Dan and I, where we can do space news and stuff like that. So, listen, and that's something we can always talk about on Cosmic Channels. If you have some like interesting piece of space news that you want to call in, and you're like, hey, did you read this article? Maybe I haven't, but give it a peruse and then we can talk about it. No, that little Malcolm is not knocking on the door yet. He doesn't know what's in here yet. But or did two shows Thursday and another day for us? Yeah, that's kind of what I want to do, Banditos. I'm thinking I want to do Sunday morning for UK listeners, because Sunday morning, like I think 9 o'clock is like 7:38 their time, PM. And I don't, Sunday's kind of an easy day for me to record on the regular, especially if I'm doing like a every third week or something. But we'll see. I'm going to, I'm just waiting to hear back from Call Hippo to pull the trigger on that. Then the other thing is this. It shows all crowdsourced. June 1st marks 6 months. So what I want to do starting June 1st, after we pay for the ads in the UK line, is all the money that we raise June 1st, I just want to get a kitty going so that I can pay all the bills to keep the show going into 2025. We pretty much bought all of our stuff. I'll have to go pull up the spreadsheets, but I think we bought all the subscription to Call Hippo, to Restream. I think that's Restream. I'd have to look at what we spent all the money on. But for those services, they're all due December. And so I just wanted to get a kitty, so I'm not trying to raise that money in November. I'd like to raise that money, by the end of summer, so that way I can just sit on it, and then we know, perfect, hey, that the show's paid for through 2025. I think that would be the best way. And listen, if you're listening, you want to it's not the utility bills, it's just the utility. Don't worry about the utility bills in my house. The studio's all LED lights, don't worry about that. It's just the services for Call Hippo and stuff like that. I think it's between Restream, it's like $600 Canadian, I think. But like I said, we're going to start raising for that June 1st. Right now, the Instagram ad says 47, but thanks to Ulissa and a couple of people who donated straight to PayPal, I'm going to mark that as complete. It's completed. I'll get the total June 1st. I'll have it as the new goal. Next week, I've got Count Mortlock coming on, Peter. He's a longtime listener of the show, longtime friend of the show. He did a ton of the music that I use on the show, so it's going to be cool to have him on and get some calls going. And so next week, if you got stories, make sure to call in, so me and Peter can listen to your stories together as we listen to some the cool spooky tones of Count Mortlock. Have you gotten an AC relocated? In the relocated, yes, AC's right beside me there. So it's still for sale though. So we could be looking at some transition periods, but not anytime soon, and it wouldn't be long. Just depends when the meth laboratories sells. I've had some interest, but nothing of note. Other than that, I think I'm going to wrap this one up. Next week, next week, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go 6 p.m. to 7:30, and then the week after that, I'll go 6:30 to 7:30, and I'll kind of move it like that. Just so if there is people watching from 6 to 7:30, they'll have it, and I'll have a couple of the pre-read stories. We'll take the AC. Yeah, the trailer, funny enough, is on the ad. I'm selling the AC and the little heater. So if anyone wants it, you just got to pick it up. Listen, you guys want I'll sign the wall. You can buy it off me. And maybe I'll buy that haunted doll this week. We'll see. It's $10. But part of me is like, so the lady said, she's assured me it's not haunted. And then she goes, or is it? And I go, you're really killing me here. And she kind of looks like she has a fake profile, but it's such a creepy looking doll. And I think it would look, I kind of want to make it, like a glass case. Right. And we can pick a name for it. Yeah, I just, I think I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to pull the trigger, and then I'll make a little glass case for it, and I'll salt it. Yeah, and I'll put it. I think I showed I showed someone. I showed it on the live stream on ATT. So I think I'm gonna pull the trigger because it's a funny story. Yeah, and I'll do a salt circle around the base, and then I'll put it in a glass container sitting there. Well, she says it's not haunted. It just stares into your soul, is what she says, and it looks haunted. Like, listen, you could make a movie and have this doll face as and people. I don't want to see that movie; it's too scary. I did post it on Discord, dude. Good. So if you're on there, yeah, I just think I like having kind of weird things, and so my fingers are crossed that it's just a really ugly, scary looking doll. But it looks haunted, and see, that's the vibe I want. I want looks haunted, not haunted. That's the vibe I'm going for. So, fingers crossed on that. But I'm going to wrap this one up. Thank you all for supporting the show. Listen, you want to help the show, you don't want to listen. You don't got the funds. You got some summer plans. easiest way to do it. Download the show, listen to episodes, share it with your friends, like and comment posts. That's the easiest way. Share a post to your story. Get people talking about Cosmic Channels. I do have an idea. I might try to film it tonight for a new ad. Like I said, I've just been too busy to really do social media stuff. But now that things are slow and my creative juices are flowing, I have some ideas. So I might, if you're on Discord, I might try to film a pilot, and I'll post it tonight or tomorrow, if I can get time in here to edit it, and we'll see if it's funny or not. But we'll see. But anyways, thank you all for. I'm sure it's not future summer forest fires. Yeah, listen, the doll is terrifying. It does look into your soul, but we'll see. I'm insured through the yin yang. The doll, I think possession's on there, so it's all good. All right, everyone, thank you so much for listening to the show. Really appreciate it. Cosmic Channels is now closed.